Is it just me, or does it seem like every day the cost of things we normally buy keeps going up? Well, if you've been noticing the same, then you're probably looking for ways to save money. However, I must admit that there's a ton of garbage advice on how to save money out there these days. For instance, people will tell you to cut coupons and ditch your Starbucks coffees just to save a couple bucks. Do yourself a favor and don't listen to these people. Instead, let me share with you 5 money-saving tips for beginners that will ensure you save more money this year than you ever have before. Tip number 1. Review your big 3 expenses. If you ask me, one of society's most widespread failures is the fact that despite money's great importance, financial education is not taught in schools. A lot of people don't know it, but if you took your time to analyze your cash flow, you'd probably discover that your 3 biggest expenses are housing, transportation, and food. And these 3 cost categories are gold mines when it comes to saving more money. The reviewing of these expenses is critical in your efforts to save more money, and I'll get into how you can do just that now. First, let's begin with housing, since it's generally the most costly of the 3. It's well known that neighborhoods with higher demand are generally those with better schools, higher paying jobs, and more enticing attractions. If you live in one of these expensive parts of town or simply rent a property that exceeds your needs, then one obvious way to reduce your housing costs is to make a change to your living arrangements. For instance, let's compare the costs of 2 different sized homes. For a home you acquire with $400,000, 30-year mortgage at 5%, you can expect to pay nearly $370,000 in interest over the course of the loan. Compare that to a $200,000 mortgage with a 5% interest rate for 30 years, and your total interest cost will be $185,000 instead. That's more than $200,000 in savings over 30 years. Now that can go a long way in helping you build your wealth over time. The second expense to review is transportation. Now, unless you work from home or are a hermit, chances are you have some sort of need for transportation. For instance, going to work, going to the gym, traveling to meet friends and family. There is always a place to be and people to hang out with. Unfortunately, a lot of people get caught up in the hype of getting a car. I like cars as much as the next person, but there's no refuting the fact that they are a total money sink. If you agree, go ahead and gently tap that like button below. You've probably heard that when a new car hits the road for the first time, it loses 10% of its value instantly. Well, things only get worse as it loses 20% of its value over the first year of ownership, which is why financial experts often dissuade people from buying new cars. Therefore, if prosperity is your goal, buying a new car for $40,000 may not be the best choice because you will lose $4,000 the moment you drive it off the lot and $8,000 by the year's end. Alternatively, buying used cars offers you the ability to let someone else incur the steepest periods of depreciation while you still get many years of benefit, as most cars run well for at least a decade. However, the best way to cut down your transportation costs is cycling and using public transport. These 2 modes of transportation remain among the best options for people who want to reduce their transportation costs. Most people who live in big cities are already accustomed to using some form of public transit, and paying $100 for a bus pass over hundreds just for gas alone is a win-win when it comes to stashing away more money. Plus, if you opt for the biking option, you can save money and get in the exercise at the same time. The final of the big 3 expenses is food, and the best way you can cut down this expense is simple: eat out less. When you go out to eat, the price you pay is inclusive of all the extra costs, table service, restaurant overhead, a tip, and any additional taxes. Now, I'm not saying you can't enjoy a meal out from time to time, but if you are serious about saving money this year, then keep these extravagant nights out to a minimum. Tip number 2, eliminate all high-interest debts. No saving strategy is as effective as eliminating high-interest debts, and most credit cards these days charge extremely high interest rates, with rates exceeding 20% in many cases. Now, what most people don't realize about paying down high-interest debt is that it's akin to receiving incredibly high investing returns. For instance, very few investments can give you a return equal to the 18 or 21% interest rate you're being charged on your credit cards, which is in effect the returns you're getting when you're avoiding future interest charges. So now that you know how lucrative paying down your high-interest debt can be on making strides in your saving efforts, how can you eliminate this debt for good? The solution is to hit that subscribe button below. Just kidding, but seriously, do it if you haven't already. In all seriousness, the best method to eliminate this problem is not to use a credit card unless you know you have the money to pay the bill upon arrival. It's easy to forget how much you've charged to your credit card. Each time you use a credit card, keep track of your spending and determine how much you'll have to pay that month. Now, if you're already in high-interest debt, here's a simple plan you can follow to become debt-free in no time. First, organize all your debts from the highest to the lowest interest rate. Next, begin to funnel all your disposable income into the one with the highest interest rate until it's paid off. Then, proceed to pay off your debts in descending order until you become debt-free. Of course, this process will take longer for those with more debt or less disposable income to apply to their balances, but using this approach is the most proven way to minimize your overall interest burden. Tip number 3. Set detailed saving goals. When you think of your future, what does it look like? Do you want to buy a home with a yard for your dog? Do you want to be free of student debt? Do you want to go on a life-changing vacation? If you want to achieve any of these wonderful things, I'll tell you right now you need to set detailed savings goals. Simply put, setting savings goals can help you prioritize how you allocate your money and will constantly remind you of the better times ahead. Now, I'm sure the idea of setting money goals is nothing new to you, but still so many people do this incorrectly. Almost every person in the world probably already has a plan to do everything from saving to retiring to paying student loans. However, turning these dreams into reality is another matter entirely. Ask anyone who is succeeding financially and they will tell you that you need to employ detailed money goals. Your goals should be divided into short, medium or long-term objectives. Short-term financial goals are achievements you want to attain in the next 12 months. Medium-term financial targets can run from 1 to 10 years, while long-term financial goals are typically goals you want to achieve in 10 years or thereafter. Once you have these goals outlined, it's not enough to rest on your laurels and hope for things to work out. The next step is to attach tasks to these goals to make sure they are realized. For instance, if your goal is to save $1,000 this year, then you should have a plan for how you will earn that extra money, whether it's by doing some freelance work or taking on extra hours at the office. In fact, if you ask me, the more detailed your goals are, the higher chances you'll actually achieve them. So put in the work when creating your goals and you will reap the rewards you desire. Tip number 4. Don't save at all. Okay, so this tip may come as a shock given that I just shared with you 3 ways to put more money in your pockets every month. But here's the thing, saving alone isn't enough. No one, and I mean no one, has ever saved their way to an impressive level of wealth. Don't believe me? Let me share with you an example to illustrate this point. Let's say that you employ all the tips I'm sharing with you and are able to save $10,000 a year. After 40 years, you would have $400,000 saved. That's a lot of money, right? Not exactly. At an average 3% inflation rate, that $400,000 would be worth just over $120,000 in today's money. So as you can see, savings alone isn't as promising as many people make it out to be. However, if you were to invest that money into the stock market instead, after 40 years at an average 7% return, you'd have $2 million or 5 times more money than you would have compared to saving alone, and still exponentially more when inflation is factored in. Therefore, it's not enough to save, you must invest. However, investing towards wealth requires you to make sizable contributions to your portfolio regularly, so let's talk about how you can do that next. Tip number 5. Earning more income. I'm going to level with you. When it comes to saving money, cutting costs can only take you so far. We all have certain expenses we have to meet every month, and if I'm being honest, if you want to save any appreciable amount of money this year, or any year for that matter, you're going to need to find a way to increase the amount of money you earn. Now, this is probably not news to you, but the cost of living these days is skyrocketing, no thanks to inflation, and as a result, having only one stream of income rarely serves anyone well. Therefore, creating and maintaining multiple streams of income is the new order of the day for those seeking abundant life. So, how can this be done, you ask? Let me explain. One step you can take to start earning more money is to ask for a raise. Getting a raise is an excellent move because it doesn't require a lousy exchange whereby you trade more time for money. You spend the same amount of time, but you're cashing bigger checks. Keep in mind though that it can be tricky when asking for a raise, especially when your company feels your current salary is what you deserve to be paid. As such, you need to present a strong argument that you deserve a top-up in pay. A more proactive approach to making more money is to get into freelancing. Whether you realize it or not, we all have skills that we can offer to others to make some extra money. However, if you don't agree, there's nothing stopping you from learning a new skill and using it as the basis of your next income stream. In fact, this is what I did a few years ago. I taught myself how to create animated videos, and I've turned this skill I learned for free into a 4-figure-a-month business. Let me tell you, when you're making thousands of extra dollars a month, saving money becomes significantly easier. Because of this, I've decided to leave my free guide to building your own $1,000 a month side hustle down in this video's description for anyone looking to start making more money. Then, as you start making this extra income, you'll not only have more money to save, but to invest with as well, which will be a cornerstone to your wealth creation journey. Now, if you are keen on really expanding your income in a short period of time, then you're going to want to watch this next video where I share with you the exact step-by-step approach I used to make $10,000 a month and how you can do the exact same. Click on over and let's get started.